There will be terrible times in the last days. People will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, without love, unforgiving, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not lovers of good. And the third reference that I want to make is found in 1:6, where God divinely instructs man to go yonder and subdue the world and to have dominion over what is in the world. I'm citing these verses to preface my presentation, that you may understand where we are coming from, and particularly to those who are in the African continent, to appreciate the kind of Christianity that was handed down to us by Europeans. And the very first verses that I read to you of Matthew's chapter 6, verses 19 to 21, were verses that were read out by missionaries and Christians as they brought to us the Roman Catholic Church, as they brought to us the Anglican Church, as they brought to us the Presbyterian Church, as they brought to us the Methodist Church, as they brought to us the Church of God, as they brought to us all these, the SDA. They were reading to us the verse that we should not store up for ourselves treasures on earth. Meanwhile, as the missionaries and the Christians were preaching to us, the anthropologists and the administrators were busy making laws to take care of our natural resources. They were making laws to deal with forestry. They were making laws to deal with mining, with the consequence that as I speak to you now, if you look at the list of the countries with the largest deposits of gold, for example, France is perhaps the 5th largest holder of gold reserves, but there is not a single gold mine in France. The United Kingdom is in that list. Switzerland is in that list. The European Union is in that list. And one can go on and on. And I'm doing this so that when we talk about the whole idea of the environment and Christianity, I'm much more comfortable talking about the environment and the Bible, because Christianity as we practice it today and as was handed down to us has been one of the greatest culprits of destroying the environment in the continent of Africa. The clergy who are here will possibly be irritated by my remarks, but I would be happy if they were, because the time has come that we must question our Christianity even as we deal with our environment. And before I make the point that I want to make about the Bible and the environment, I want once again to remind you of Paul's second letter to Timothy about the last days. And I want to submit to you, young men and women, that these are those last days. When we talk about those last days, if I'm properly guided, I'm not counting as man would, because God, I refuse to believe, lives within time, and therefore his last days are not necessarily our understanding of last days. And the Bible is clear, and I repeat it again for effect, that in these last days will be lovers of ourselves and not lovers of good. And if we are not lovers of good, it means, among other things, that the divine instruction that was given in those early days, as recorded in the book of Genesis, is an instruction that has been ignored. It was ignored by Adam and is ignored by the Adamic race. And that is why you discover, or if you don't discover, you see on a daily basis that indeed we abuse the environment on a daily basis. We take things out of the environment that we do not need. It is Christian Europe that brought into this continent individuals who started hunting for sport. People like Cecil Rhodes, who are active in South Africa, are the very same who came here and started the idea of creating national parks, national conservancies, and the whole idea of just hunting animals and birds because it was a sport. In African cosmology, Africans hunted what they needed to eat, which was a part of the divine instruction. When Africans wanted to use timber, even as a young person, when we were sent into the little bushes, we were told to take that which had dried up. And when we cut trees, it was for a specific purpose. And we, therefore, when as Christians, and I want to remind you, and I'm saying I'm going to make a fairly controversial statement, that Christianity has made major contributions, both negative and positive, in dealing with the environment. It is Christian Europe that invaded Africa and came up with the mining that is destroying the environment as you know it. You only have to go to the Democratic Republic of Congo. I saw my good friend speaking from Central African Republic. He'll give you the accounts of the activities of Christian France in that country. You go to Zambia and you see the activities of the Christians or people who came in the name of Christianity, how they have ravaged countries. Go to the Democratic Republic of Congo and see what is happening there on the eastern part of it. And you will know how all these has happened. And you can even go a little earlier when King Leopold of the Belgians was killing 15 million Congolese. He did it as a Christian king. So let us always be very slow when through indoctrination and doctrine, we are fed a form of Christianity that is much more a mirror of Paul's second letter to Timothy. And let us not, in the name of Christianity, discard certain things that are African. I remember in my rural village not so long ago, when you went to fish and you caught certain sizes of fish, you returned them back to nature. But we were told it is the Europeans here who came here with the next European Christian. I keep on saying this, in the name of Christianity. And you now know that our lakes are depleted by that very act. Many of you may or may not know, but on the 3rd through to the 11th day of September this month, the month in which we are, there was a meeting in Marseille in southern France by Nature Africa. And during that meeting, one of the resolutions is that Europe is going to fund Africa to ensure that they conserve African nature. And all this is being done by companies which want to use those carbon credits. They want to claim we are doing this in Madagascar, we are doing this in Kenya, we are doing this in Somalia, We are doing this in the Central African Republic so that we can continue to enjoy our lives. And what am I therefore saying? I'm saying that it would be remiss on your part as young people to simply say, because we are Christians, our worldview is going to be defined by the dictates of my pastor, by the dictates of my reverend father, or by the dictates of my spiritual father. I want you to run away from that kind of Christianity. The kind of Christianity that I'm prescribing to you is a Christianity that is Bible-based, a Christianity that speaks out of the Bible and that lends itself to the proper understanding of what nature has given to you, and which tells you that you have a duty to be custodians. And my understanding of the English word custodian is that you become a carer of what you have. You care for what you have and use it to the extent that is necessary, aware that you belong to a society, so that when you use a thing, you use it in a sustainable fashion. And it cannot be true, therefore, that that kind of view is only restricted to Christianity. And I say this because there is a danger that when we look at things, we will only look at them from a narrow Christian perspective. And Desmond Tutu, who was himself or is a Catholic, or rather an Anglican archbishop, has written a book in which he says, God is not a Christian, God is not a Christian, and Christ is not a Christian. And I agree with it. God is beyond religion. And I make that in order to introduce a subject which I think is important. When you think about the environment as you situate, you are dealing with the environment in the Bible, you must also think ecumenical. You must ask yourself, what do the Hindus say? What does the Hindu Gita and the Upanishad say? And I've had the advantage of reading with them. In fact, they are a lot more elaborate about how to deal with the environment than the Bible is. What does the Gita say about this? What does the Muslim Quran say about this? Because the real world is composed of Muslims, it is composed of Christians, it is composed of Hindus, it is composed of people who are engaged in spirituality, but do not belong to any of those dominations. So it is important to be sensitive to those realities without losing your Christian spirituality in order to understand how the environment is to be dealt with. I want to conclude my presentation once again by reiterating that you as practicing Christians must warn yourselves, particularly at this time when the kind of Christianity that we see in the world is a Christianity that mirrors what, as I've already said, is spoken to or about by Paul in his second letter to Timothy, and to remember always that you are safest when you base your dealing in the Bible. You will listen to many preachers, and there is no shortage of them now, who in their attempt to explain their own worldview will sometimes distort the word as found in the Bible. The word in the Bible is simple and direct. Go ye and subdue the world and have dominion and be custodian. You are carers of the things that you have. And if you understand it in that way, in my own way, I believe you will have contributed to the environment. And it is also important to know that our Christianity must be informed by science, because science is a divine product. When God creates us, he puts in our mind ideas and thoughts, and that is what logically presents as science. So when the world scientists tell us that there is global warming, it is a divine revelation out of empirical evidence, and it therefore is incumbent upon us to listen to those whom God has endowed with this intellect and are therefore able to engage with us on the basis of verifiable data. And indeed, even you and me can now see what has happened in the recent past because of the manner in which we have dealt with the world. Look at what has happened to Lake Chad, which has shrunk almost 70%. Look at what is happening with water. Water is becoming a crisis in the world. Look at the deforestation. We are told that in the Amazon, they are losing the equivalent of 3 football pitches every minute. And look at how that is going to affect the world. Look at the pollution of the lakes. Look at what is happening in our oceans. All these are things that we've got to take care of, not only as Christians, but as children of God who defies all denominations. Thank you very much, and God bless you.